Hey everyone.
Hey, hey.
So let us begin. Most important, actually, I haven't got this on the agenda, but just most importantly, very top of this agenda is the Q1 actions from our retro. I'm going to move these off this agenda, drop them onto the Q2 OKR and retro issue that we have, and just do a quick summary here. But if you haven't done your review, you have a few minutes. Well, actually, no, I lie. You have until tomorrow because I won't have a chance today to actually take a look through that. But just so you know, I'll move this off the agenda.
Do we have to confirm or to act as that we reviewed it in some way, or we just have to review it?
It's a good idea. That's a good, yeah. How about I put something on the retro issue, the Q2 and retro issue, and we can just have a thumb up on there if we've done it, because yeah, what we should have done is actually properly opened an issue so we could track that. Yeah, good question. Awesome. So announcements, a few announcements up there, and discussion. So I put this in discussions so you can all disagree if you want to. So 2A is a request, if possible, for us to try and get some more questions into public channels. So mostly I put this in because I noticed that generally delivery is kind of a quiet channel. But also I'm aware that sometimes you will get pinged like individually by people asking for stuff via DM. If possible, if you deem it to be something that could be public, please try and encourage people to take it into a public channel. Mainly, it just relieves kind of you having to be the kind of point of contact for everything, like other people can join in. But even more importantly is other people can then learn from whatever answer or link that you provide. So if you do get see opportunities for this, then please see if we can make things more public. Awesome. Any questions, comments?
I will gladly benefit from that, guys. Thank you.
So B. Now, I don't think this is a big change, but I am aware that we do have a lot of incidents. So we already have it documented that we have the kind of concept of a DRI in an incident, and the DRI is auto the EOC. And that is based on they get assigned into the incident. We do also already have in the linked here release manager sort of docs that for incidents that we raise, like tests failing and things like that, we sort of are the owners for these things already. So one change you may see happening is that the EOC may become more active in actually assigning issues to us or asking you to assign an incident issue to yourself. So I don't believe it's a change in kind of ownership. The intention behind it is to try and avoid an incident issue looking like it's assigned to an EOC, but the EOC not feeling like they are owning this incident because it's very much tests failing or something which maybe we're working on or quality is working on. So hopefully that doesn't mean you're going to get more work, but one thing I would sort of recommend everyone sort of takes care on is, if you are owning something, you can assign yourself, but you also, it doesn't have to be that it entirely lands on you, right? There are lots of incidents that we hand over to other people. So quality or maybe dev escalation, or maybe back to the engineer on call. In those cases, you please do the same as well and actually ask someone to step in as the DRI, and you can get them assigned onto this issue as well. But comments, because I do know we have a lot of incidents, like, does this feel like it is going to be problematic?
I wonder if, because often the incidents that we have, if they are related to quality failures or to infrastructure problems outside of our team's reach, especially in case of development issues, do we usually make devs owners of incident issues because they feel very much like belonging to infrastructure so far, but maybe I'm not sure if this concept of an incident is known well enough and all over the engineering department so that it could be owned by anybody in the engineering department. That's my main question here.
It's a great question. Yeah. Probably not. Now, there are times when I think it is and does make sense. That would usually be something I think around the database, because I think we see the database team get very involved and quite often actually fully own an incident. In that case, yes. For like random code thing, perhaps not. We should make use of the IMOCs as well, right? So if the IMOC is really there as a coordination person. So if it is something where you feel the engineering call has handed over to you, and now there's lots of coordination, and particularly if you have another release management task, so like, it's the day of the security release, or you're trying to do a patch release, or you have other tasks, then it's not a one-way street. It's not like an engineering call dumps an incident on you and you're now left holding everything, right? So we should also, you can escalate to me or Michele or the IMOC as well to kind of help on the coordination. But yeah, it's a good point, Henry. I think less so in development.
I was also thinking that looking back at the past weeks, that Myra and I were release managers. I mean, I've opened several of those. I was trying to do my best to at least add comments when we were discovering things, but it's really a lot of work. And especially in the past week, we were just moving from one incident to the next one. Or, I mean, this is not correct. I was starting my day inheriting incidents from the night and continuing up until I was just giving my incidents to Myra. So this is more accurate description of the past weeks. So, and I feel that it's really hard to even look back at those things, right? Because we say that if it's blocking a deployment, then it should be at least a severity to incident, which kinds of open up a lot of, let's say, extra work on it, because then you need to compile more stuff on that. And oftentimes you are just either retrying something or hoping that someone from quality understand where is the failure, and so they could fix it. And it's a lot of extra work that the problem is that when it's done and you are mitigating it so that you can move on, you have at least 3 to 6 hours of accumulated work because your task was to deploy something. And now you are at the point that you can actually deploy something, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to bookkeep. So, I mean, what I want to say here is that in my view, this open a problem at the beginning of the process when you say, should I really open an incident with all the extra effort that this is bringing? Or should I just try to ping someone and see if I can manage to unblock the situation? And this is not helping with tracking what is happening, because we are not inclined to properly track. But on the other hand, the amount of bookkeeping is too much.
I share this concern. I do disagree that we should own something, especially if it's a developer's realm, like issue. Like if a merge request was merged and that's the root cause, I shouldn't own this incident. I'm just a person who participated in the incident. The team that introduced that particular bug should own the incident, in my opinion. I also agree with Alessio that working an incident sucks. It takes a lot of administrative time and effort. And when I was release manager for the prior 2 months, like filling out incidents and being a release manager was probably 90% of my day. And that was infuriating. I would love to try to figure out if there's a better way for us to handle this better, but I would like to try to shy away from us owning an incident just because we spun one up and we're the deployers of code.
Yes, I agree. No, I don't think in that case, I agree. So I suppose what in the sort of maybe more obvious cases when there's an investigation, but certainly I think we can do more to hand over to quality. dev escalation, like, I think once we know
I'm
which
not
team,
talking about dev escalation. Like that's an entirely different process. I'm just thinking of who should own the incident.
I mean, we have an IMEC role, IMOC role, right? An incident manager on call. And by what we are talking about right now, that feels like we should take over the incident manager on call role for all incidents that we are opening up, right? Being the DRI of it. Because if you are the DRI, but can't solve it because it's, you know, maybe a dev problem, then that means you just run around and try to ping people and try to organize all of the incident handling then. But this, I mean, I wish it would be more like fire and forget. You open an incident, and then at the point where you know where the problem lies and who could be the DRI, you should be able to give it over there and forget about it, right? Even if you need to wait for it to be able to deploy again. But I think this is either an incident manager on calls thing to then organize all of this, or the DRI
I
to take
think we
over,
should
right?
be, Henry. Like, actually, I actually think we should be. So I think there are different types of incident, right? So I think in that case where it's, so say tests fail, or no, say we have a degradation on production, in which case the engineer on call would be involved, right? Because we have a reliability problem. So that's straightforward. They would be the DRI. In the case where we have tests failing, we would open the incident. I think we engage quality, and then we hand off DRI to their on-call. They have somebody on call, and then they can own this. In the case where this comes back and they're like, there's an application problem, we should use dev escalation. But once we're at the coordination point, that's not our role to do the coordination. That is the IMOC. And what we should be doing is escalating to the IMOC. So I think our responsibility is to make sure that the person who's assigned to the incident is the person who feels like they are owning. Now, sometimes that is us, and sometimes we are, you know, like we've had, say, Kubernetes thing, and we are upgrading, or, you know, we are actually very actively involved in resolving, in which case we're the owners, but it isn't always us. And I think what I would love to see is actually a more discussion taking place in these incident channels with the EOC on actually who is the DRI for this incident right now, and that person being assigned. Because at the moment it's just auto assigned, and that person isn't really like trying to be the DRI. They sort of go, well, it's not my thing. It's quality is looking at this, and they just sort of, you know, ignore the incident. So I think that's really the thing, is it certainly doesn't have to be us. I don't think we should have to own more incidents, but I do think the incident reports need to be more assigned to more people.
On that regard, I had a point, which is 3.b, which I think is going in the same direction. So because, as I said, in the past week, we had so many incidents, and the schedule for the quality engineering on call is kind of fixed for longer periods. So I was always interacting with the same engineer every day, and we kind of trying to figure out what was happening. And what I realized is that they have no way of knowing if a QA failure is their own scheduled failure or it's blocking a deployment. They see everything together. So it happened sometimes that they fixed something that was also failing. They fixed something that was failing on the regular QA that they're doing on a timely basis. And that same failure was blocking a deployment, but they just picked another QA task, so they retried the wrong one. I mean, they say, okay, QA is good because now it's green, but they didn't retry the one that was blocking the deployment. So the idea here is trying to make sure if someone from the team can represent delivery in that conversation and make sure that we provide them some stronger signal, because they are acting quickly if something is broken, but they don't know which is the most important broken part to fix. So if we can give them more visibility in what blocked a deployment compared to just a regular QA failure, and then from this building, what's the next step? So if it's blocking deployment, let's open an incident, let's do this and that. Maybe this is gonna, I mean, they are on call, so we have someone that can help. It's just a matter of making sure they are focusing on the right thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Are you able to help on that, Alessio, or are you over capacity and need someone else?
Yeah. Well, if someone can take a look, it probably be better. If not, I can. I'm not really sure how much they are. I mean, no, let me rephrase. Yeah, I think that probably from our side, we just need to code something so that the triggers is more visible, because we give them the trigger, we give them the failure. So if someone from us can provide some extra variable when we are sending the trigger, and someone from quality can make this variable surface in their alert, then probably this is gonna be the missing link. So it's more of a coding things that actually a real coordination, because I think they agree that they want to fix the right thing and not just a random failure. So it's just a matter of writing a plan. So yeah. If no one can, I can do it.
I'm going to assume we don't have much capacity this week, unless Robert, you want to pick this. But otherwise, Ruben is back next week, and we could, like, if we got an issue and kind of had some vague guidelines, we could plan that. Awesome. Thanks for picking that up. Okay, let's see how we go on this incident stuff. Like, I'm not expecting any documentation up to changes on this stuff. It's just could be that you may get engineers on call asking you to take incidents, right? But do feel free to make that a discussion. And let's see what sort of incidents you feel like come in that shouldn't sit with release managers, that perhaps the engineers on call are asking. Most likely it could be the ones like Henry flagged up, which is it's a development trigger thing, but we have dev escalation and we don't have a team we can ask it. But we can certainly lean on the IMOCs to help us in those cases. So do feel free to shout if you get an incident coming your way that you don't think should be, and we can certainly have a look there. Also, I'd say Skarbek, Alessio, like you both raised that, like the overhead of incidents. There is definitely value in us having incidents, but I do appreciate the overhead. So if there is a way we can reduce this, then I'm very happy to kind of hear suggestions and ideas on how we can actually keep the tracking without having so much admin work. Awesome. Let's jump to C. So Alessio.
Yeah. So last week we were testing this renovate bot, which is something that updates dependency on code project. There's a repository for common CI task in infrastructure that they're using, and it's quite modular. So I pick it up only the module that is managing renovate bot. I was testing this because we have very old dependencies, some of them outdated in release tools, and we will never schedule any time to fix them until it's too late. So this just know that over the weekend, this thing's open a merge request, updating dependencies. So right now, the Ruby gems are not working as expected because the things that the infrastructure did around the bot just removed bundler, and so it can't really update the log file. This is gonna be fixed. But right now they are unassigned. Just want to say this, right? So we are testing how it works. They by default are unassigned, but on Monday you can take a look. They have labeled. So it's bot generated, dependency upgrade, and type maintenance, something like this. So if you want to take a look, just yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So the links are all updated. Note on deployment blockers, what's very visible from the last few weeks is the number of incidents. Last week was very painful, but only from a couple of incidents, but I suspect that's not where we're feeling most of the pain. And where we're feeling most of the pain is probably sheer numbers of incidents. So I am going to try and spend some time later this week and try and pull some stuff together around types of incidents and things we are seeing. But like, previously, like week 6 of this year, we had just 2 incidents logged. Week 7, we had 3. Whereas now it's much more likely we're seeing like over 5 each week. So, I'm not surprised the overhead of raising incidents is getting higher. Although the numbers of which time we have them recorded for is very low. So I don't know if we are more optimistic these days and we're much kinder and say something was only blocked for an hour, or whether actually we are genuinely seeing a lot more incidents, but they're resolving more quickly than they used to. So I need to do a little bit more digging in there. But question for release managers, I've reworded the question a little bit. Should we be changing our team priorities this week based on MTTP or blockers from last week?
Well, I put my important item that we discussed. So the faster we can offload quality failure straight to the quality engineering code, the better is, because there's less things on us. And other things, yeah, I just saw that during the call we got pinged by Maring. There is another security thing. Not sure if something that we will have to handle outside of the process, like a critical release, or if we'll fit into the regular one. But it's a ping for release managers that
it says regular
on. Yeah, okay, regular, that's better.
So is that a no? We're good. Oh, we can't hear you, Myra. Oh, I can't hear you.
No, Myra.
Oh.
That's the moment where she's bashing the microphone. That's why I disabled the camera.
Amy, this report for deployment blockers, how is this created?
This at the moment is manual. And the reason it's manual is because the labels are quite inconsistent. So what I would love to do is once we have the labeling consistent, this can just come off the API. But actually what I find at the moment is, so last week I spent about 2 hours doing this because I actually had to find the incidents mostly from the handover messages. And then go through the incidents, and that's where you start getting pings for labels and write-ups and things. So that's the bit that would be really good and has always been really good to get consistent, because as soon as we know we have everything labeled with the numbers, this is a super straightforward bunch of incidents to gather up and grab the numbers from. But yeah, at the moment, this is fully manual.
Amy, do we need to put I was looking at the labels, the deployment blocked with the environment name and time, right? So if we set something, let's say 5 hours on staging, do we also need to add the same 5 hours for production, or it's?
Usually, yes. So I think about it as if your expected production deployment got delayed because of a package missing, which usually it will have done, then yes. The only times where it doesn't is say like, in fact, no, I'm a lot less generous now because I think we're more optimistic than we used to be. But in theory, if you are just starting a deployment to production and staging broke, you may fix staging or staging canary before you needed that package. But just for simplicity, yes, because what I like people to be aware of is like, hey, tests failed on staging canary for 4 hours. You did actually prevent any deployments reaching production because the pipeline broke. So yes, generally you usually want both.
Okay. Also, oftentimes these are S2, S1 incidents. So even if they are not blocking, I mean, they are technically blocking the deployment because you can't deploy.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Exactly. And same with change requests. If you get any S1 or C1 or C2 and they hold up deployments, then also we should label those. Great. Myra, over to you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can.
Yeah,
awesome. I don't know what happened to my mic. I'm using another one, but I am going to echo the same blocker that I echoed the last week about moving Q&A from deployer to the coordinated pipeline for staging canary. As release manager, I found this environment very, very painful. It is very slow and quality takes a lot of time. And sometimes, since we trigger it from the deployer and if it fails, it is going to trigger the whole pipeline instead of the job. And sometimes fails because we have lucky failures. And it is annoying to find out like, okay, a new pipeline needs to start instead of me just retrying the job. So that basically adds 30 minutes or 1 hour if the pipeline fails again. And you kind of need to keep an eye on the pipeline. So if it fails, you quickly retry the job before the timeout finishes. And I found that the deployment to canary staging is taking around 2 hours because of it. So I can put all these details in an issue if it is easier for you to see it, Amy. But if we could prioritize that, it would be very great. So I would do it, but I just don't have the time.
Should we prioritize this ahead of everything else?
I'm not sure if ahead of everything else, but I do think it will ease our life as release managers. It will reduce the deployment time, probably for 30 or 40 minutes. So I guess it will have a high priority, yes.
Okay, all right. I'll take a look through and see if we can squeeze that in. Great, thanks for that. Awesome. So we are nearly at time. So warn you in advance, I'm going to drop just before the past. But if any of you are able to stay around, then you can continue on the social stuff. But is there anything else anyone wants to bring up today on this recording?